So I mentioned we are coming up on that deadline, January the 18th. That is this Thursday, when the Canadian government expected to get money they lent out to small businesses during the pandemic under the CEBA program, the Emergency Business Account, to be paid back. Now, I will mention the story is, yes, there are lots of businesses across the country finding themselves in a very difficult spot right now. But remember, this program had already been extended 1 year. Then it was extended a couple more weeks. Yet these businesses now say they still are going to have a problem paying this money back. And that, if it happens, will cause apparently quite a number of them to simply just go out of business.
I feel like it's important to point out that around 900,000 businesses took advantage of these loans. And interestingly, 3/4 of them have been able to pay this money back. That leaves a quarter that are still struggling and as you said, in a very precarious position as we speak.
So what happens if you, as someone who took out one of these loans for your small business, finds yourself in that position? Harvey Bienenstock is a certified public accountant, joins us from time to time to go through these weighty issues. Harvey, thank you for being here. Appreciate it, and Happy New Year to you.
My pleasure, Aaron. Natasha.
Let me begin by asking the question. Say you are one of these people, right? And here you are, deadline 2 days away. There's no way you can pay that money back. What happens?
Well, it's not as bad as you think. First, if you go to the financial institution that lent you the money in the first place, and you make an application for them to lend you to make an extension on the loan, to refinance it, will accept up to March 28th that you've made arrangements, and they will still give you the forgiveness.
Oh, good.
Okay, but then you have to hope the bank will give you extend that loan, right?
Right, and if they don't, you have to try to find another lender, which is pretty bad, and then you don't get the forgiveness. And or there's online lenders who are available. But, Aaron, what happens in worst case is that if you don't pay it back by the 18th and don't refinance, then it automatically converts into a government finance loan due on December 31st, 2026 at 5% interest. So if you can't pay back the $40,000, and it really is only going to cost you $167 a month in interest. And, so if you can come up with $167 a month with tax deductible, if you need a deduction, then you've got an extension until almost 3 years to pay it back.
I wasn't aware of that.
That's great to know. What I'm wondering about then, Harvey, is what was this idea that part of it was going to be forgiven? I know that part of it already was forgiven and that deadline was extended, but if you aren't able to make this deadline now, don't you forfeit another bit that was supposed to have been?
No, it's the same amount. If you had paid it back on time, you got the forgiveness, and if you make arrangements with the bank by March 28th, you get the same forgiveness. I mean, it's just different people. Either you paid it back or you didn't, and now you have an extension. And again, if you were up to $60,000, it's going to cost you $250 a month. But you still got a nice chunk tax-free. You still got a nice chunk of support.
Okay, so that's something for people who didn't know. That's actually encouraging to know that you can go back to the institution that the loan came through, whatever that bank happened to be, and arrange with them to pay this back at that percentage. So, and you have you're saying 2 more years, basically.
Basically 3. It's 24, 25,
right, exactly.
26.
Okay, so that's not so terrible because, we're hearing from the Canadian Federation of Independent Businesses. This means businesses, so many of them, will simply not be able to pay it back and will go under. Is that overhyped?
Well, either it is or it isn't. Like I said, if you can't afford $167, I don't know if that's going to put you over the edge or not. If you were that close and you were gone, then
right.
you wouldn't have survived. But if you can live through this extension and paid $167 a month, then it's not so drastic. In terms of an onerous obligation, in terms to extend 3 years and then hope business gets better.
I want to touch on what you just said because again, I'm not sure people are understanding that either. So I've seen ads now on TV for online lenders understanding in this situation that there are people who won't be able to pay it back, offering to give you that money to pay it back, and then, of course, you owe them the money. But you think, is that a good idea, bad idea, or is that going to be a usurious interest rate?
Well, obviously it's a case-by-case basis, but I know there's a company called Merchants Growth, and they advertise that they will lend you the money. Then there's a question of, I'm sure they're going to do an amortization because they want capital and interest because they're not going to wait like the government. And then I think their interest rate start at 8% and goes up, so up to like 20%. So it depends on how they evaluate your credit risk.
Okay. But what I'm curious about is, if you go to your bank, I would think most banks would want to make this work, right? They want to keep your debt because they want to continue to make money off of you and off your debt. But if they don't, what would the rationale be? What would be the circumstances that a bank would be like, no, this is not a good deal?
They may say that your credit isn't that good because once you go back to the bank to refinance, you owe them and not the government. And now the bank assumes the risk.
Right.
Right, but don't most banks want, I mean, I know they don't want the risk, but they want the money, right? I figured they want the debt because they can then make the money off the debt.
Well, that's that classic risk reward. They'll lend you money if they can be sure that you're going to pay it back.
Yeah.
Right, okay.
Yeah, banks have a habit of doing that, I think.
Okay,
All right.
but again, there's other sources of financing. As you said, people have come up with the money. And again, in extremis, what happens if you can't pay the government back at the end or now? I mean, the government, is going to come after you. If you're an individual who borrowed, they're going to basically garnish any tax refunds or DST credits or EI benefits you have. But if you're a corporation that owns the restaurant, and usually it is a company, so you can limit your liability, then they can only take a legal action to try to seize the restaurant. Chances are you have a lot of debts anyway, so the government's not going to get any money. So if you're that bad and you can't pay it back, let them come against your business, because if it's not viable, they're not going to get any money anyway.
Wow.
It's like the CERB benefit, where the government figured they spent $32 billion of unqualified disbursements, and yet the revenue won't chase them, saying, well, it's not worth our time. So who knows if they're going to chase the business?
So in the event of a business, as you're describing it, that situation, if the government goes after you that way and that has to go to court, that could be literally years away, could it not?
Yeah, and it becomes part of the bankruptcy filing. So it's one of the debts of the business.
Well, maybe you made everybody feel better now who's in a bad situation here by finding that out.
Yeah, I mean, you can just extend it out and, maybe negotiate or tell them things are getting better. But if you can't pay, then, government really doesn't have much recourse.
Wow. All right. Harvey, as always, we thank you for all that information.
Hey, one thing, Aaron, I hope you applied for your Quebec pension, because if you did, you don't have to pay into the plan anymore. This is the first as of 2024.
Hey.
Thank you, Harvey. Yes,
Well, they want to entice people back to the workforce, but why would you do that if you're only going to take home 38 cents on the dollar?
Love having Harvey on the show. Harvey Bienenstock, Montreal accountant. Harvey, thank you so much.
Harvey.
You're welcome.